Welcome to DTF Film Session number 34. I'm Max Dean. You can find me on Twitter at TheMaxDean, and I'm back one more time before the draft with Tre'Shon Diaz. He is at TRE3SHON on Twitter, and we are right up against it. It's a late night on Wednesday night, the night before the draft, and we are trying to fit in a couple more film sessions. Man, how you doing? How you feeling?
Oh man, we're right here at the finish line. It's in sight. Can almost feel it. Excited to be here and get one more breakdown in.
Yes, absolutely. So tonight I'm doing one more. Got some editing to do to put out some more in time for the morning. Then I'm going to record just a couple more early in the morning with Shane, and then we're done. And the draft is here. It's so funny because the draft is like when you're into the draft and you're not making content about it. You're like, I can't wait for it to come. I can't wait for it to come. You wake up in the morning. You're like, what time is it? What time is it? Now I'm like, oh, just one more day would be great. Just a few more hours would be great. But we're almost there, man. So we are going to do a fan favorite. This is Jahmyr Gibbs. So he is the running back from Alabama. Um, he is a receiving specialist, very shifty, and he has great hands. So a lot of people have likened him to Alvin Kamara. I think I understand that comp. I think the route running is probably not quite as developed, but there's no doubt that the threat as a receiver is tremendous. He's great with the ball in his hands, so getting him in space is always ideal. The more space that you can put between him and defenders, the more guys he can make miss. So he is a fun dude to watch. He's 5'9", 199 pounds at the combine. So I don't know if that's really what his playing weight was. My
Yeah.
guess probably a little smaller, but he should be able to hold weight pretty well at the next level, and we'll see if that affects his game at all. So in terms of Jahmyr Gibbs, you were excited to come on and do him as the last pre-draft DTF film session. So what is it about him that you like so much?
Yeah, I'm very excited about Jahmyr Gibbs. He's my clear cut running back two in this draft class behind Bijan Robinson, and he is somebody that a lot of people say Alvin Kamara. I kind of think, and like this is an even crazier kind of thing, but he reminds me of Marshall Faulk, a little bit old school. I think he packs a little bit more of a punch than people think. I think that Alabama 2 looked really slimming compared to the Georgia Tech. I think he was 21 when he was there. Um, and I think that he offers a lot. I think that he's somebody that, like you said, he's going to contribute in the passing game. I think he has better natural running instincts than maybe some of the other running backs that are in this draft class as well. So he's somebody that I'm very excited to break down.
Yeah, he has special traits, and I think he has home run hitting ability, and he's a very good receiver, even in traffic. So the
Mhm.
fact that you can rely on that means that he's going to be a very, very consistent receiver at the next level. And then the refined route running that will come with time. You can see all of the pieces there. But let's jump into the tape and take a look at Gibbs. Okay. So he's in the backfield here. Move this over slightly. Okay. So right away, coming out of the backfield, you see the explosiveness, like the way that he bursts right here. He kind of takes a step, and then he's just off to the races. Thing I would like here is to press a little bit harder against this defender before
Mhm.
making his cut, but you see the quickness of the feet, and then the catch in traffic I really like. As a running back, a lot of times guys need the situation to be perfect, even if they're a fast player and having the ball in space is good for them. that's not always how it's going to be. And so if you want to put this guy out as a receiver more often than a pass protector, there's going to be times when he has to catch the ball in traffic, and he does that really well here. So not the best route, but you see the explosion, you see the shiftiness, and then you see the catch in traffic as well. And these are all really positive traits.
Yeah. NFL route here is running the classic angle route. I think,
Mm-hmm.
you do want to see it, I think, to be run a little bit sharper. And I think that's what you're talking about there. When he gets to the top of his route, you want to see him press
Mm-hmm.
a little bit better. He does a good job keeping his shoulder square when he comes up to the defender. He does all the little things really well here. You called out, the technique, the being able to catch in traffic. Let's see. It comes into his body, but you know what? In this situation, that's probably the best way to get it secured, because then he's just going to go straight down to the ground. He's not going to try to do another move. He's going to just get the ball down and take the yardage. So just a really clean play. And it just kind of shows you, the ability that he's going to be able to bring to the next level.
I think in this case, you kind of have to catch it with your body a little bit because you got the defender literally draped on you, so you have to shield it a little bit. And he doesn't have the longest arms, but that's obviously not surprising with a 5'9" frame. So
No, and the positive there too is that you see that he does initially put his hands out in front of him, and then he just
mhm,
lets the ball come to him because, like you
mhm.
said, that's the more natural thing with the defender in his hip pocket there.
All right, so it's the only thing is like this right here, that hop, it's wasted motion, right? And we're talking about this as
Hmm.
if he's a wide receiver. A lot of running backs are going to do this, even a lot of receivers coming out of college. But for a guy that's being called a potential first round pick because of receiving skills, these are the kinds of things you want to look at, right? So
Yep.
he hops here and then gives like a little stutter, and then he cuts inside, and he gives the defender just a
Yeah.
little too much time to recover, because the reality is he's a much better athlete.
Yeah. And right here, that's kind of what we mentioned earlier, is that really want this to be sharper. He kind of rounds this out a little bit too.
Hmm.
This is fine, at the collegiate level, but if you're going to be facing slot defender, which it looks like this is either a nickel, maybe some kind of safety down there. I don't think that's one of the linebackers. You're not going to be able
Hmm.
to get away with running a route like that at the next level. You're just going to get blanketed immediately.
Right. Okay. Next play here. So this is a bad angle, but this is when you see how easy Gibbs makes it look,
Mm.
right? Like his ability to run at different speeds
Yeah.
and basically trick you, make your eyes think they're seeing one thing, and then just turn on the gas before you get there, and you just completely whiff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is just being the better athlete. This is why some people are saying, they feel like maybe he could go, very at the very, very, tail end of the first round, or the top of the second.
Hmm.
Makes the
Just
defender
look at the
miss. And
burst once he catches the ball, right? Nice and easy, catches the ball with his hands. Very natural hands. And yes, he is turning up the field a little early, but just watch the burst once he catches the ball. I don't know what his top speed is,
it just eats
but
up
the 0 to
space.
60 there is pretty special.
Yeah, no, it is. And this is a much better angle, like you said too, where you can really see him turn that gear on. Think you do want to see him look that ball in just a half a second longer, but at the same time, I think he understands the space, and he's just betting on his own ability here, and knows that that guy's not going to be able to catch up to him in time to break up that
Hmm.
pass. So
Yeah, and it's hard to tell. I mean, with all 22, like this is not high definition footage, so it's hard to say the exact moment when he turns away. But yeah, overall, it's very impressive what you see here. All right. So we actually see him get a carry now. And
This is a
this
great
one,
rep.
yeah, this is really more about vision than anything for me. And so I'll let it just play one through and then get to the end zone cam. So this play happens pretty quickly, but he's pretty patient getting to the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a play where if you're not as explosive as he is and as shifty as he is, the ability to jump cut and burst up through that hole. Like if you see there's a defender on each side of him, one in front, one to his right, and one to his left. And he's able to turn this into what, like a 6-yard gain, more or less. 7 maybe.
7. Yeah. So one of the things here, just right off the bat, his shoulders, he they maintain square through to the line of scrimmage the entire time, and that's what helps him make that cut when he wants to. And this is kind of what I talk about, where I feel like he runs a little bit tougher and packs a little bit more of a punch than people think. He's not running or trucking anybody over, but he's running through a little bit of an arm tackle here. He's getting a little bit of extra yard. He's not just going to go straight down.
Hmm. Well, I also think that he sees this hole being filled well in advance, but he continues forward through the handoff, and then he presses the line to make sure that he doesn't try and make a move, and then that linebacker comes to try and fill another hole. Gets right up there, trusts his athleticism, even though this is essentially a missed block from I guess it's the guard coming off that double team. Want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that
A little
you're
late,
getting
yeah.
hands on him at the very least. So quick move here, and then get north and south, right? Don't start trying to put moves on guys just because you're a crazy athlete. Just go and then get what you can, fall forward. So not a huge gain, not a highlight, but this just shows you what he's willing to do between the tackles and how effective he can be. So here we're going to see a little bit of contact balance and ability to run through contact as well. So again, we'll see it a little better from the other angle, but he hits a defender and then he hits his own player here,
Yeah,
his
almost
own
splits him.
lineman. Yeah. And he's able to maintain his feet and get back up to, not up to speed, but gets up and continues down the path as well. So, we're not going to mistake him for Derrick Henry, right? We know that's not what we're getting here, but we like to see that when he does make contact, he's not just going down, at first contact all the time, that he is able to continue on.
Gets through the hole here, nice. Runs through one arm tackle.
Mm-hmm.
The dip. That's one thing we've seen consistently so far in this film is making the first man miss. And that's something that
Mm-hmm.
you want to see. Is you don't want it to just be a highlight play. You want to see him making the first man miss on the 7-yard run, on, the 4-yard, the 5-yard reception. Those are things where those plays will translate to the next level.
How many points of contact with defenders does he have before going down in this play? 1, 2,
His own.
3, 4. Yeah, 5 if you count his own offensive line. And again, still falling forward at the end of it. There are certain players who are just so athletic and so shifty that they're always at kind of a leverage advantage, right?
Mm,
Like you're always kind of catch tackling them just by the nature of how quick they are. And so he's kind of a player that puts you in that position. He's never going to lower his shoulders and take you head on. He's always going to make that little extra move where you have to make sure that you're just kind of dragging him down as opposed to knocking him back.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah,
he
it's
just,
that I was just gonna say it's that contact balance that you mentioned earlier. That's he's 5'9" and he's able to use that center of gravity well.
so here we see a couple of things. This is not any kind of elaborate route, but nice, easy hands, catches with the hands, and then the cut,
That's nice.
the
Yeah.
cutting ability, and then
Hmm.
the burst. So after he cuts and gets past this first block here, you're gonna see him explode. So just watch for that uh, right there. His
Yeah.
ability to accelerate is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's the definition of one cut and go right there when you're in the open field. That's really nice to see. I mean, he just eats up so much space so quickly.
Yeah, he really does. And you see you too. So he
Yeah,
makes this cut and he's trying to decide kind of where he wants to take this. Does he want to take this
mhm.
outside or inside? And he sees in a split second, he sees the blocking leverage of number 3 there is to the inside. And so he's a little off balance, but he adjusts where he wants to take this. And then as soon as he gets the balance back, he's off.
And the nice thing here too is that even though he's off balance, he doesn't waste space. He doesn't get wide. Like you said, he recognizes the leverage of the blocker in front of him and he hugs as close as he can to the hip
Hmm.
of that blocker so that he can still eat up as much yardage as he can.
All right. So now we see him out there as the Z on the left side. All right. And again, the routes here, this, you'd love to see him press and then, get that 1, 2, 3. But really, it's more like a 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? And it's just
Yeah.
kind of rounded and casual. If you really want to be a truly elite receiving back, you do have to work on that stuff because that'll mean that they can line you up all over the place on a regular basis. Um, and
There's
so
two
this
people
is
going
like,
down.
yeah, this is like the speed to power, I guess is maybe a way to put it. And so this isn't like a super great, amazing rep or anything. It's a solid gain. It's what's the line of scrimmage? The 20, then to 21. So from the 21 to where he's tackled, you know, it's almost 10 yards, 9 or 10 yards. But the thing that I wanted to point out about this play is that not to rain on the parade or anything, but this is where we see that he's not the super refined. He as a catcher of the ball, he's very
Mm.
good. As an athlete in space, he's very good. And I think he has a pretty good feel for the spacing in coverage as well. But like I just want people to maybe realize that he's not quite at this I don't know, he's not quite at the Christian McCaffrey level, right? So maybe
Yeah.
he can be there, but he's not there yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes people think productive college receivers means good route running,
Hmm.
or other things like that. And that's not necessarily always the case because you're able to get away with more of your natural abilities at the college level. And then at the NFL, that's when you hope to get the coaching to match with the athleticism. And, he seems like a guy who I do think that he'll take well to the coaching, and these are things that are definitely fixable for an athlete. Sure, you want to see him get challenged on that play, but like you said, that's Alabama. Seeing him split out there on a team like that with those kinds of athletes, it shows you, the potential that's there for the next level. But there is work that needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think he was the biggest threat on the Alabama team this year. And, you kind of wonder what he could have looked like if there were guys to take maybe some of the attention away
Man.
from him. Which, depending on where he goes, if he goes late in the first, maybe he will. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they'd be circling back to the the running back late in the first again, but certainly a team like the Chiefs, that would be a fun pairing. If he falls into early in the second, there are
Yeah.
definitely some teams that could really use a player like him. Um, I think him going to the Texans early in the second in our DTF staff mock was interesting because I think that, depending on if they do get a young, I mean, I think no matter what,
Yeah.
he'd be a good fit. But if they do get a good young quarterback, that's a nice outlet to have, right? Like maybe you're
Mhm.
more comfortable coming down to your check down if you know that's who you're giving the ball to,
Yeah.
and you're not trying to make things happen. So I don't know. I think he's a really cool player. I think he's, after really getting to watch him, he's definitely the number two. What he brings to the table is definitely the biggest asset if you are a running back. But I think Bijan's ability to do everything else, plus a lot of what Jahmyr Gibbs can do, definitely makes him the number one guy. Now, he might not be as fast as Gibbs, but he as a receiver, he's still very, very good. I think he might even run better routes, to be perfectly honest, and he's got the
Yeah.
pass protection in his back pocket. So, you know, I think the difference is that you if you are drafting Gibbs, you're not really drafting him to go between the tackles every other play and take that
Mm.
kind of workload as a true running back. You're going to get
Right.
him a lot of touches where he's going to be able to get out of bounds, a lot of touches where he's not having to get hit by defensive linemen. So
Mhm.
maybe the longevity is a little bit more um, enticing, but Bijan is definitely the better player, and there's no question about that. But Gibbs is he's going to go somewhere, and he's going to help a team right away, and he's
Yep.
going to be very good. I have very very little doubt about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think and I think he could potentially be a very, very good running back in this league if he does hit some of those marks that we talked about in his receiving game, and if he's able to clean
Hmm.
up some of those areas. It's a fun pick. He's a fun player. Like you said, I think getting paired in Houston with the Damian Pierce, that's the kind of role that you're just talking about. You got your between the tackles guy, and then you got somebody like him.
Hmm.
Could be a lot of fun.
No doubt about it. Especially because they do have a McCaffrey. I mean, at least D'Amico Ryan's had a Christian McCaffrey, and he knows what he can do. And
That's
again, we're not
right.
saying that they're the same,
Yeah.
but if you believe that you can coach him up to be a McCaffrey light, that's got to be pretty exciting. All right, that's going to do it for Jahmyr Gibbs and one of the final pre-draft
Yeah.
DTF film sessions of the year. Whew. We'll be back after the draft with some more. We're going to do a few more prospects that, we'll know once they're already drafted, but we'll do a couple of more of these. And then we'll look to some summer scouting for maybe some of the guys that'll be out next year, do some reviews on them if you are just curious about them. And then we will move along and start getting into the NFL film breakdowns going into the season. So, Tre'Shon, thanks again, man. It's always good having you on. I appreciate it. And you can find me at TheMaxDean. You can find Tre'Shon at TRE3SHON. Defiant Takes Football is at Defiant Takes on all social media outlets. And of course, check out all of our written work over at defianttakesfootball.com. We'll be live after the draft. So you can go back and see our reactions if you don't catch it live. And then we do have all of our film breakdowns. We'll see you all very soon.